Picture a nation's economy as a powerful engine, humming with activity, driving progress and prosperity. But like any engine, it needs fuel to keep running. Fuel that, for many countries, comes in the form of oil and gas. These resources are more than just commodities. They are the lifeblood of modern economies, shaping everything from transportation to manufacturing, and even the balance of global power. Oil and gas are its fuel. Control over these resources can mean the difference between economic strength and vulnerability, between peace and conflict. In October 2025, the Trump administration targeted Russia's oil giants with sweeping sanctions, aiming to cut off the cash fueling the war in Ukraine. This bold move marked a dramatic escalation in the ongoing standoff between Washington and Moscow, signaling a willingness to use economic power as a weapon. The goal: choke Russia's ability to fund its military by slashing oil revenue, striking at the very heart of its war machine. By hitting the energy sector, the U.S. hopes to weaken Russia's resolve and limit its capacity to wage war. These sanctions are the harshest yet, zeroing in on state-owned Rosneft, a company that sits at the center of Russia's oil empire and plays a crucial role in the nation's finances, and private giant Lukoil, the backbone of Russia's economy, employing thousands and generating billions in revenue. Together, these companies represent the pillars of Russian energy dominance. By blacklisting these firms, the U.S. is sending a clear message to the world: do business with them, and you risk severe penalties. The threat extends far beyond Russia's borders, reaching banks, traders, and governments across the globe. This move forces countries and companies everywhere to rethink their energy strategies, scramble for alternatives, and weigh the risks of defying U.S. policy. The world is watching. Will this economic offensive force Putin to the table, or will it spark chaos in global energy markets, sending prices soaring and economies reeling? The sanctions are already reshaping alliances and trade, pushing nations to make tough choices about energy security, political loyalties, and their place in a rapidly changing world order. The outcome is uncertain, but the stakes couldn't be higher. Every decision made now could have ripple effects for years to come, affecting millions of lives. Every day brings new twists in this high-stakes economic battle, as leaders, businesses, and ordinary people adapt to a world in flux. The story of these sanctions is just beginning, and the next chapter could change the course of history. The October 2025 sanctions were designed to hit Russia's oil and gas revenue with surgical precision. U.S. restrictions on Rosneft and Lukoil mean American and global companies risk losing access to the U.S. financial system if they deal with Russian oil. This global reach makes buying Russian oil a dangerous gamble. Oil and gas exports fund Russia's government and military. Cutting this income strikes at the heart of the Kremlin's war machine. Early signs show Russian oil is selling at steep discounts, draining Moscow's reserves. The U.S. hopes to create a sustained economic squeeze, testing Russia's fortress economy like never before. The strategy is a modern siege, surrounding Russia's finances, not its cities. Its success depends on global cooperation and the willingness of nations to pay more for energy elsewhere. The world is witnessing whether economic power can rival military might in shaping history. For years, India and China played a crucial role in keeping Russia's oil exports alive, snapping up millions of barrels of discounted crude and ensuring Moscow's energy revenues kept flowing. Their appetite for cheap oil made them indispensable partners for Russia, especially as Western buyers turned away. But the latest round of U.S. sanctions has upended this arrangement. The threat of being cut off from the global financial system, including the all-important SWIFT network, is a risk that even economic giants like India and China are unwilling to take. The cost of defying these sanctions could be catastrophic for their own economies. As a result, major refineries and trading companies in both countries are quietly backing away from Russian oil deals. This isn't about taking sides in a geopolitical struggle, it's about self-preservation, protecting their access to global markets and financial stability. The reach of the U.S. financial system is so vast that it's forcing a realignment of global trade. Banks, insurers, and shipping companies everywhere are reassessing their exposure, wary of secondary sanctions and the risk of being blacklisted. With India and China pulling back, Russia suddenly faces a shrinking market for its oil. The result? Even lower prices and mounting pressure on its already strained economy as unsold barrels pile up and revenues dwindle. The chilling effect is unmistakable. Companies worldwide are scrambling to review contracts, halt shipments, and ensure they don't inadvertently violate sanctions. The uncertainty is rippling through boardrooms and shipping lanes alike. Now, India and China find themselves walking a diplomatic tightrope. They must balance their long-standing ties with Moscow against the harsh economic realities imposed by the West, all while safeguarding their own national interests. Their calculated retreat marks a significant victory for U.S. strategy, further isolating Russia and demonstrating the power of coordinated economic pressure. It's a stark reminder that in today's interconnected world, economic decisions made in one capital can send shockwaves across continents, affecting markets, governments, and ordinary people everywhere. The fallout from these sanctions is forcing nations to rethink not just their alliances, but also their long-term strategies for energy security and economic resilience. The sanctions' impact is immediate. Russian oil now trades at a deep discount. Buyers demand lower prices to offset the legal and financial risks of dealing with sanctioned crude. Even when Russia finds buyers, it earns far less per barrel, blowing a hole in its budget. The discount creates a dilemma. Cheap oil is tempting, but the risks and logistics are daunting. Western insurers and shippers are out, forcing Russia to rely on a shadow fleet of aging, poorly regulated tankers. This raises costs, complicates shipments, and increases environmental risks. The price drop is proof the sanctions are biting, isolating Russia from the global economy. The world is putting a risk premium on Russian oil. Moscow pays the price. The big question, will this financial pain force a change in Russia's war strategy, or will the Kremlin adapt? The sanctions shockwaves hit Serbia hard, plunging the country into an energy crisis. Serbia's oil company, NIS, is majority-owned by Russian firms. So when the U.S. sanctioned Gazprom, NIS was swept up too. Overnight, payment systems failed at gas stations, forcing Serbians to pay cash and signaling deeper trouble. NIS runs both of Serbia's refineries and supplies most of its fuel. The real crisis. Serbia's oil pipeline from Croatia was shut off to avoid U.S. penalties, leaving refineries running on fumes. Officials warned the country could run out of fuel within weeks. A policy aimed at Moscow is now threatening to grind Serbia's economy to a halt. Serbia is caught between its Russian ties and the reach of U.S. sanctions. The NIS crisis is now a national emergency, threatening jobs, transport, and the entire economy. The collateral damage of economic warfare is painfully clear. Facing disaster, Serbia's government is scrambling for answers. NIS employs thousands. Its collapse would trigger mass unemployment and recession. Russian owners have asked the U.S. for a waiver, even offering to transfer control to a neutral party. But time is running out. Nationalization is on the table, but seizing Russian assets could shatter Serbia's ties with Moscow. The crisis is compounded by Serbia's reliance on cheap Russian gas, with a key deal set to expire soon. Moscow is using gas negotiations as leverage, pressuring Belgrade to stay loyal. Serbia's balancing act between East and West is becoming impossible. The NIS crisis exposes the risks of energy dependence and geopolitical tightropes. The choices Serbia makes now will shape its future for years. Small nations can become pawns in the power games of giants. Serbia's neighbors show there's no single way to handle the sanctions fallout. Bulgaria acted decisively, nationalizing its Russian-owned refinery to keep fuel flowing and align with the West. This bold move secures Bulgaria's energy supply and signals a pivot toward the EU and NATO. Hungary chose negotiation, leveraging its ties with both Moscow and Washington to secure a one-year waiver from sanctions. These contrasting strategies highlight the region's complex politics. Bulgaria prioritized energy security and Western alignment. Hungary opted for pragmatism and flexibility. Serbia, lacking both options, remains uniquely vulnerable. The region's response is a lesson in the power and limits of national choices. The ultimate aim of these sanctions is to force Russia to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. The U.S. hopes economic pain will bring Putin to the table, with Trump's envoy leading a push for peace. But the proposed plan reportedly demands major concessions from Ukraine, including territory and military limits. Many U.S. allies worry this rewards aggression and undermines Ukraine's sovereignty. The shift from military support to economic leverage is controversial, dividing the Western alliance. Sanctions are the stick. The carrot is a peace deal that could formalize Russian gains. The ethics and effectiveness of this approach are hotly debated. The diplomatic endgame is uncertain, and the stakes are enormous. As 2025 draws to a close, the future of global energy and geopolitics is more uncertain than ever before. The world stands at a crossroads, with old alliances shifting and new power dynamics emerging on the international stage. Energy, once a symbol of stability and growth, has now become a source of tension and unpredictability. Russia faces dwindling oil revenue and growing isolation. Will it adapt to these harsh realities, or be forced to reconsider the true cost of its ongoing war? The pressure is mounting, both from within and from the global community, as sanctions bite deeper and economic hardship spreads. India and China's retreat from Russian energy signals a dramatic shift in global energy flows. These economic giants are now searching for more reliable suppliers, redrawing the map of international trade and forcing other nations to rethink their own energy security. The crisis may accelerate the move toward renewables as nations urgently seek stability beyond fossil fuels. Investments in wind, solar, and new technologies are surging, with governments and industries racing to secure a cleaner, more resilient future. For Serbia and other small states, survival now means rethinking alliances and energy strategies. These countries must navigate a complex web of interests, balancing between powerful neighbors and their own national priorities. The outcome in Serbia will be a warning or a lesson for others caught in great power struggles. The choices made here could set a precedent for how smaller nations respond to global crises and shifting allegiances. The world is watching closely. Can economic statecraft and diplomacy end a war, or will these tools unleash new waves of instability and conflict? The stakes have never been higher. The coming months will reveal if sanctions and negotiations can pave the way for peace, or if they will deepen global fractures and prolong uncertainty for millions. One thing is certain: today's decisions will shape the world for years, if not decades to come. The choices made now will echo through future generations, influencing everything from energy access to international stability. The energy war is far from over, and its outcome will define the next era of global politics and prosperity.